Dave indicated, it's not just about working from home remotely. It's working anywhere, whether it's your cottage, your cabin, your boat, your hotel room, or your home office, and not necessarily a physical office. So this webinar promises to give you some great insights on how you can transform your business, and perhaps consider to learn some new things that may make you more effective in the way that you're communicating your message, whether it's long-term care, final expense, the Medicare supplements. It doesn't really matter what the product is. So let's get into some of the discussion points, and I will, in just a minute or two, introduce a special guest and a good friend of ours who's going to also participate with me today on this particular webinar. So the points that we're going to cover this morning are what research tells us, why sell online, is this really a fad or is it here to stay, some success stories, online sales cycle, what kind of tools that you should have, the process, some other tips, and how AIM can help you. So as we look at some of the stats, it's no mystery to any of us who have seen the advancement of technology about how consumers today are interacting in the buying process and utilizing this digital interaction, whether it's their phone, a website, or a screen sharing activity to make purchase decisions, even insurance-related purchase decisions, which is amazing. I saw an ad just recently that was, I believe it was Lending Tree, where it showed a couple that went in and they were all dressed up to go into a brick and mortar office, and then it showed another gentleman who looked like he was in a pair of boxers or something less than fully dressed, sitting from home, basically shopping online for his mortgage. So it tells us that the buying patterns of how people buy today are certainly changing. And so why you should be considered selling online is because of this large lead universe that enables you to operate in multiple states. Dave and I and the rest of the AIM folks hear all the time about people telling us, well, my area is more difficult. Well, you're not limited now to just your own area or your own zip code. You have the opportunity to actually do business in multiple states, and that may, in fact, create a situation where you've got not only more leads, but perhaps less expensive leads. Or maybe perhaps working multiple time zones enables you to have flexibility if you've got other family commitments, kids' sporting activities, or other activities that may enable you to pick the times that you actually want to work. Number 4 is kind of interesting when we think about the wear and tear on an automobile. I was doing some numbers the other day and was imagining that if you just averaged 40 miles an hour, some of you probably drive a lot faster than that, but just say it was 40 miles an hour, and you put on 500 miles a week, that would be 12 and a half hours of driving. If you took that times just 50 weeks in a year, that's in excess of 625 hours per year. That works out to be 78 days, or a little over 15 weeks a year. So you can imagine if suddenly you're not having to get into a car and have a lot of windshield time to and from appointments, just imagine, staying in the comfort of your own home or wherever it is that you are operating remotely, and how that could make your life a whole lot easier. And then again, if a client doesn't show up, you can pivot and perhaps have backup plans to speak to someone remotely so that you're not wasting time. Now, we have one of our strategic partners. They're a great partner. They're certainly a partner that we value the relationship. And the gentleman I want to introduce to you today, who works with this particular organization, is Rob Kreider. Rob is a good friend, and Rob, thanks for joining us, first of all.
Be happy to come on the line with you. Happy to be on this call.
And Rob, the numbers I have in front of me are actually the numbers from your organization about how remote selling has transformed the LTC specialists, the reps that work with you. And Rob, to give you a little personal background, I don't know very many individuals in our business who have been in the business, certainly specifically in long-term care, as long as Rob has. I've been in the business around the same time as Rob, maybe a tad longer. I think the same with Dave Wayne. But Rob's been selling long-term care insurance since 1984. And Rob is the director of training for our business partner that we're referring to, which is Axia Partners. And Rob has the opportunity to work with individuals who are new to long-term care or individuals who are actually experienced and want to transform their practice. And Rob, are these numbers pretty accurate in terms of the growth that you've seen as far as the remote selling going from 19% of sales to, or those selling to over 70%?
Yeah, exactly. I think last week, we keep track of it, and I think last week was 75%, but sometimes we hit over 80% of our business for the week is all remote, especially if we work with large groups. We just had the Kaiser Permanente group. We still have a lot more to go in reaching all their employees, but all of that was remote. We probably had 30 agents helping their employees, and those who had the skills of selling remotely were the ones that were invited in because the sales were all over the place, all over California. So we brought agents from other states coming in and helping us to help their employees, and they had that ability, so they were writing 30,000-40,000 a month. I mean, some of their weeks were 20,000 in premium, a little less commissions, but I mean the skills give you other opportunities. But I was up in Truckee, California, which is up by Lake Tahoe. I'm not there now, but when I first got in doing remote selling in 2010, and I was spending $1,000 a month on gasoline plus wear and tear in my car and on my physical makeup. And then I went in 2010 in September, I went to remote selling, we call it webinars, whatever, exclusively. I've been doing it 5 years, and I wouldn't go back to anything else. It's great.
That's amazing. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to get some more insight from you as we continue on, and please save your questions. As I said, Rob eats, sleeps, and drinks the webinar-based approach as the director of training, and has had some great successes, and I'm going to talk about a couple of success stories here in just a moment. But once again, to be in the business, sometimes someone might say, "Hey, I've been around a long time. You can't teach an old dog new tricks." And for some of us who've been in the business, we realize that that if we're not willing to to make the change, we may find that the business is going to pass us by. So a couple of the quick success stories, and Rob certainly can add to this, and Rob knows, I know these individuals as well, but just want to show you, he mentioned about some, I hope you're paying close attention about the volume of business, 20,000 in a week, 30,000 in a week. One gal that we know very well, who was hired by an LTC specialist. She had no experience. She was just basically raising her children at the time were teenagers, and she was thinking about college education and needed to basically find a way to get some additional income in addition to what her husband was making. And so this gentleman got started in long-term care, and she's never known anything other than remote selling. And this was in 2012, and if you fast forward to the last several years, her volume has been maybe not quite that big, but somewhere in probably the 500,000 plus range for 359 applications. Just goes to show you that, and this is someone who only sells long-term care. These are just long-term care success stories. The middle gentleman is someone who I know Rob knows very well. Bob moved from Pennsylvania down to Florida simply because he wanted to get away from winter, and he also transformed his business. Some of what Rob had shared about his personal experience about driving so much. And again, a gentleman who made that transition at age 40, been in the business 10 years, had been selling face-to-face exclusively prior to that, and now does only remote selling. And then a third, and we could go on with more examples, is a gentleman up in the Bay Area in Northern California. And this gentleman lives in an area where it's, when you're in a major city and you have to think about getting in and out of the city every day, if you had to travel, it'd be very difficult. He lives right in the city, never leaves home, and has amassed a volume of 1.3 million of long-term care on the books in just 3 short years. So Rob, just these are just three quick examples. Is there any other example you'd like to share before we move on?
Well, I was thinking of a lady that was our agent. She's 72 years old, and she had never done any kind of webinar selling. And she went into one of our classes, and when she left, her first three cases she sold. So there is a learning curve, but she'd been doing it for so long, she was able to step right into it, even at age 72, and start making sales and never leave her office other than going to the post office. So it is a game changer for people, and lead flow is huge because you know, leads are the name of the game, and if you can reach out to multiple states, different affinity groups, and those we have a lot of we call them affinity groups, where they're associations or colleges, alumni, that sort of thing, all over the United States. So when you're reaching out to other states, now you have a great lead flow. You're constantly getting leads, and that is not an issue with an organization like ours.
That's great, Rob. You know, let's kind of move forward here and just kind of keep the webinar going here about some of the differences in selling online. You know, today, as I indicated a little earlier, the consumers are online, so you have to be part of that consumer's research in the sales process. And I want to talk for a few moments about the differences, you know, in terms of the online sales cycle. It's amazing. When I started in the business many years ago, around similar to the time that Rob and Dave Wayne and a few of our other associates have been involved in just the insurance business in general, you know, I was given two books that I had to read. One was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and the other was Dress for Success by John Malloy. And it was so important that, you know, you had to dress the part, and also the car that you drove, because, you know, your appearance was everything if you were going to be in someone's home or if they were coming into your particular office. And it's amazing as you look at this visual of how things have changed. And Rob mentioned about the lead flow and about how important that is, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But now, you know, here you are. That could be you sitting there with a headset on, and in the comfort of your own home. Certainly the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich is still a great book, but maybe you don't need to read Dress for Success. Maybe it's the Dummy's Guide to How to Use Your Computer, or whether ways that you can get more proficient with technology. So as we look at this, Rob, and some of the tools, and I know that you work a lot as director of training, where you have to make sure that people are organized and equipped. And as you look at this particular screen and see kind of the list of some of the items that we've given, and Dave Wayne, by the way, can provide anyone who's listening in and watching this particular webinar a copy of this particular PowerPoint if it helps you to be able to refresh you know, your memory as going forward on items that you might need. But Rob, any insights as just on some of these points that we're trying to make agents aware of as far as the tools that they need to have?
Well, I think a real common comment is, well, I'm not that computer savvy. You know, this is going to be too hard, and it really is not. You know, you've got a mouse, you know how to click it, and once you learn where to go, what to have downloaded into your computer, the necessary tools, we have to have, just like a carpenter has a toolbox with his hammers and saws and whatever else. We have a toolbox with our Stratecision and websites that we want to go to, and we have to be credible. If you have your own website, that's even great. One of our top producers, that's how he opens up with his webinar, which is his own website with his face and comments from clients and a way to connect up online. It's a real easy process. You know, Gene Cutler, he's got like, I don't know, 6 million on the books. The guy's just amazing. So we have people with us that have the skills to teach everybody how to step forward and not have to sit back and say, well, this is too big for me. It's not. But we also have the people in the back office to help everybody get set up. Once you have the tools, it's like anything else. You just click and you go, and you know where to go and what to do, and we'll pull up underwriting guides sometimes, and the client can see them. You have to have a screen sharing program, which is real simple. Most of the companies now have e-applications, so when you're done with your webinar, and we have a deck or a slides that you can use that we put together that's we've simplified it so it makes it easy to talk to clients, but you have to be able to make the connection to the client, and you have a brief time to do that. You have to have credibility, you have to have trust, you have to have a connection to that client, and you have to have somebody who's really interested in the subject, and you're sort of checking their temperature throughout the webinar. So there's a skill to it. When you're face-to-face, you can see body language, facial expressions, all of that. On the phone, you're listening for tone of the client, you're listening for comments. You have to be a lot better listener than you are when you're face-to-face, because everything is what you hear. So you have to be a good listener. But all of these things are important that are listed here, and they're not overwhelming. You can create a briefcase on your computer, and you can store all applications for various states. So you're just a click away from everything you need when you're set up properly.
Rob, that's great insight. And having this virtual briefcase and giving you a list of the items in the screen sharing services. Some are free, like JoinMe and ScreenLeap, and there's others that you pay for. And certainly at AIM, we want to be a resource for you. And we have, if you don't want to go out and buy StratEdge, we have comparison software right on our whyaim.com site that is actually free to any agent who's appointed with us. And so all of these are different tools that you have. As Rob indicated, it's really you got to take baby steps initially, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And we'll get some more insights as we go forward. And Rob had referred to a comment about lead generation in terms of the sales process. And like anything else, you have to have people to see. This is the name of the game. And one of the advantages of working with an organization like AIM is that we have strategic business partners that specifically have programs, such as our relationship with Active Partners. It may not be right for every single individual who's listening in, but I invited Rob in because there are individuals who may say, hey, I think I maybe would like to look into that opportunity. But whether it's internet leads, direct mail, referrals, or seminars, some of the easiest ways to actually get started with the online sales process is to go back to your existing clients and start with them from a remote standpoint, whether it's just doing a review or whether or not it is actually cross-marketing into with a new subject that you're going to introduce. They're familiar with you. You don't have to worry about making mistakes. You can actually kind of practice a little bit of this remote process. And so some of the items that we have listed here are just things that you need to know. And Rob gave us probably the best tip, which was that you have to become a very good listener, even more so than face-to-face, especially when you're listening for the things that they're telling you as it relates to screening for health and letting them know what the process is going to be. And I like that comment, Rob, about tone. That's so important. Any other insights on this slide before we move on?
From my perspective, these are all great. The other aspect for lead generation is we have the affinity leads that come in. Just as an example, Kaiser Permanente has 200,000 employees that we'll be reaching out to. So when you're with a big organization, you have a lot more opportunities. I think that's steady opportunities, but your leads come from a variety of places. Referrals, you talk to a client from a lead and they refer you to a family member or somebody else. Those are referrals, and those are great. No expense to you just by asking. So it's something good to pursue. We also have a CRM, which is just a software program that keeps track of our leads and our clients, and we have had wonderful success of late with mass emails. So you can go back to your leads that have come in, and you can create we help do it and have it all through compliance and attorney and everything to make sure the template works, and it refers to like a Forbes article or a Money Magazine article, and we test them out, and then we send them out to our agents, and they can use them and mass email all of your clients you haven't been able to reach. Even ones who maybe weren't interested, you can go back, and we've had Some of our agents are making 1 or 2 sales a week just by doing weekly mass emails, and you just do it with a couple of clicks, and off it goes. It's just a wonderful way to reach out and stay in touch with your clients. We've had some cases we had 10 or 11 mass emails sent out to them over a year or two, and finally say, okay, I'm ready now. Some people are just kicking tires, or they have to get the kids off to college, finish off paying something off, and they're not ready. And you can't close them because they're just not ready. But at some point, they're going to talk to somebody. And if you stay in touch with them that way, it's so much easier, and you'll get the sale later on. But all of these things that you're mentioning are things that are necessary, that are listed here, are necessary from your closing starts from the time you phone them, the very first time you reach out to them, till you actually close the deal and collect the check. It's all combined and all together. And if you don't do it right, you're just quoting, and you're just a telemarketer, and they won't buy from you. So if you have the right process and right training, you have a much better chance to have these big weeks and have some steady sales and steady income.
That's great, Rob. You know, on the previous stream, when you were talking about the transaction, we've had recently with Mutual of Omaha has rolled out an e-app, and so Rob was talking about trying to make it easy for people to do business. And certainly, if you missed that particular webinar that Dave Whalen did recently, it's recorded, and you could go onto our website and actually learn a little bit more about how actually to transact with an e-app. So some other online sales tips, and this just gets into, again, we're trying to give you a high-level overview here, and Rob's given some great insights as to what his folks that he works with on a day-in and day-out basis do, and these are some significant numbers, and these are individuals, some of which have had a lot of experience, like the gentleman he referred to by the name of Gene Cutler. And there's others, as he mentioned, that just get started, but and are actually, able to take off and have great success as well. But the importance is things like the pre-appointment activities, making sure that you're doing the little things to improve your chances so that you are going to have an opportunity to have a really good call when it comes time to that actual appointment. And you want to make sure that, as Rob indicated, that you're doing the little things to make sure that you're actually going to walk someone all the way through to a successful conclusion, and not basically allow people just to utilize the time with you as a thinking that you're a shopping service. Yes, but if they're going to, they need to know that you can actually help them, and they don't need to go anywhere else and not just necessarily get quotes from you, but you're going to actually walk them through the entire process. And so we give you some tips here, and we'll give you a little script at the bottom, just things that will help you along the way. And again, Rob was talking about tone and the importance of listening, and that's why you can ask. It's important to ask, lots of questions. And Rob, maybe just take a moment and we talked about having that virtual briefcase organized and open so that you know where to go and filling out the application online. But when you don't have the opportunity to see them face-to-face, where you could go in and make sure the TV's off, these are just some little tips. Any other insights, Rob, that you see here that you'd like to bring to the folks who are listening in?
Well, I think if you're just telling them everything, think about the Peanuts cartoon where he's listening to the teacher talk. Wah, wah, wah. If you're just talking at them the whole time, that's what they're going to hear. After a couple of minutes, it gets old, and they just kind of tune out. So you have to, questions engage the mind. So you have to ask really good questions and find out what they're concerned about. I listened to a tape from one of the top financial planners in the country, and she said they're red flags or concerns. If you don't know what the red flags or the concerns of that client, you won't be providing the right solution for the client. So you have to be able to be a good listener, ask good leading questions, find out where they're at in gathering their information, and the more you know about them, the more you can help them and find the solution. And then you're building that credibility to the end, and hopefully you've done a good job of building need and urgency, and we get to the end, people will you won't even hardly do a close in a lot of cases.
Rob, I don't know if you remember, and that's great insight, but a couple months ago when you and I had the opportunity to get together for dinner, you told me a question, and I don't need to put you on the spot because you may not, there's probably so many of them that you've used, but I was so taken with the question that you used that was able to pull someone in and gain that participation. It was almost like you were asking for permission. I don't know if you remember offhand that question, but it was a way that enabled you to proceed and to go a little further. Again, we were covering a lot of different topics that night we were together. So I don't
remember exactly, but sometimes you change up with who you talk to. But you can ask people, is this the first time you've looked into long-term care planning? And you find out whether they've been doing this, talking to other agents. They've gotten quotes in the past. They had a policy in the past they dropped. They've been declined, and you're the fifth agent they're trying to get a policy through. Or their parents just had a big event, or maybe they're planning for retirement. A friend or family member bought it, and they recommended they look into it too. Their financial planner has asked them to get some quotes to compare with what they're trying to sell them. You get so many different varieties of situations from the clients, and sometimes they're holding that back and not telling you, and you find out in the end. Or they've got a major health problem they're trying to, kind of afraid to tell you they have it. So I had one agent that just went through our refresher course, and I tell people in the refresher course, you're probably going to have some aha moments, and nothing earth-shattering, but things that you're not paying attention to. And she realized she really wasn't listening like she should to her clients, and she was able to make that sale because of the refresher course, encouraging her to stop talking so much and listen to the client first. Then you'll know how to proceed. Do you proceed with a traditional plan? Do you proceed with a hybrid? Or is their health so bad you're going to have to go to some other products? You have to sit back and not have an absolute plan of what you're doing. You have to have the ability to pivot to what you need to do for that client. You won't know how to do that if you're not listening and you don't have the proper training.
Rob, I think that's so important because people do tend to get on autopilot and just, as if they're just reading the script and realizing that, not realizing that they have to personalize and customize. And I think, I've said for years the importance of, raising areas of concern where you have to disturb and motivate people with those red flags. And I heard one specialist that I know you know her, and she's out of San Diego, and she's a good friend, and she likes to say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being that you know nothing about long-term care, and 10 being that you could actually teach me a thing or two, where do you think you are? And I think that your point about trying to make sure what they've looked into prior to your call to measure where you need to go, because oftentimes you can short-circuit the process, and maybe this whole webinar that you were thinking you were going to go through 20 visuals, you're not having to do based on what they're telling you by asking the right questions.
Yeah, and you'd want to say it, if you could rate yourself between 1 and 10, 1 meaning you don't know very much about long-term care insurance, or 10 meaning you're an expert, you'll find most people will say 2 to 3, some will say 4 to 5, and you get to 8 or 9, they're like doctors, registered nurses, they work in a nursing home. Then you can shorten up your webinar based on your client. I've even done them where I didn't even do the webinar because they were just so skilled at the subject. You could mention it and that you got the agreement, you could move forward. But you still had to find out their family story. That's what I call it. What's your experience in your family, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa? You find out those things, then you have them emotionally connected to the subject. Sometimes you have to help them get connected to it in the beginning.
That's good insight. As we just kind of move along, so I want to make sure we allow time for some Q&A at the end. At American Independent Marketing, we've been in business for well past 35 years, supporting brokers, and many of you have worked with us over the years and know that we are a great resource, not just with long-term care, but with critical illness, Medicare supplements, final expense, and other niche-related products. And as Rob indicated, sometimes, maybe a traditional solution isn't what you're going to need. You're going to need a hybrid, or you're going to need a specialty product that's going to help you. And so we can help from a back office standpoint to provide the underwriting pre-screening. We can help you with personalized marketing materials. Our Wying.com is a great resource for you, and we recently have updated some great material in the area of critical illness, and also have material that are available to you that are consumer friendly for long-term care. We have a business tracking system that will actually track your business for you. And we have a digital platform, and Rob mentioned about the importance of having a website, and so really all the way through, to make sure that you as a producer have these tools that are available to you. Let me just take a minute, and I'm not here to necessarily promote our Connected Agent program, because that's a program that, that some agents are using. Excuse me. But I'd like to just talk about the importance of having a great website. And if you're working with an organization like Axia Partners, or perhaps on your own, that you've created your own website, it really does start with a digital platform that you have to have. And so the visual I wanted to show you was an example of making sure that whatever platform you have, it looks good on all devices. And this is a visual in front of you is a gal out of Texas, a good friend, and this is just the face of her particular website. As Rob said, most individuals, all individuals, in fact, that are working with them selling on a remote basis, have their own dedicated website. What you can't see on this particular screen is if I give you a little bit bigger snapshot of this, it would have her picture. And there is a connection that you need to establish by directing people to your digital platform, allowing them to do some of that research and use your tools that are available on your website as the way by which they can research even prior to having that webinar. And so this just kind of gives you an example of what the Axia Partners template would look like, with a home page, about us, get quotes, testimonials, contact, and this is something that the consumers, prior to actually even meeting with you in the webinar, you can direct them to learn a little bit more about who you are, your background, maybe have some pictures of your family on there, and a little bit of your story. Rob, any other insights on the importance of that digital platform?
Yeah, I think you can put it, we put it in our signature line in our email address, so that people, and we encourage them to go to our website, check us out, Google yourself, find out the clients are doing that. What do you know? What's online about you? Google yourself and check it out, and we will encourage them to check up on us, so that they, originally there was sort of a fear of who's on the other end. So the more you let them know that you're a real agent, been doing it a long time, connected up to great agencies like AIM Marketing. Like, she has the Better Business Bureau there, but she's also to the left there. Looks like she has comments from her clients. When you have testimonials and other information on there, it starts to, it's like a wall there when you first start talking to people. You're taking one brick at a time. You're taking that wall down, and you're helping your client step over that wall and making them feel more comfortable. So the more things like this that you have available for them to feel more comfortable, the better for you. 800 numbers are great. When you stay in touch with them from the time you first contacted them through the sale, through the delivery of the policy, and into the future, you're really creating credibility where they can refer people to you. All of this creates opportunities for sales and helping clients and helping yourself and your family.
That's great. Adding the content, and this is just showing you an example, to pick up again on Gabrielle's situation, where you can have a library of information that's available for that client to do the research, and you can run your campaigns. Rob mentioned about that they use a CRM. If you don't happen to have that CRM because you're not working with an organization like Axia Partners, you can run your campaigns through your own website, and we'll be here to help you. We've got customized materials. I alluded to this a little bit earlier about how you can actually customize brochures and blast emails and prospecting letters. And so we want to make sure that you have the tools to succeed when it comes to remote selling. If you need some discounts on direct mail, or if you're looking to buy internet leads, Rob mentioned about how strong they are on the affinity side, working those particular programs. You know, the folks at AIM are they're here, they're dedicated to your success, and having webinars like this, we feel are very important, because this is where the industry is going. That one visual at the very early part of the webinar that said, 70%, and then Rob came on and said that 75 and in some cases 80% of their sales in a given week are coming from remote sales. That just tells you the direction of our industry, and we need to be on board. So before we finish the call, Dave, if we could unmute everyone, and I want to thank Rob for his great insights, and I know there's some folks listening, Rob, that are going to have some questions for us on remote selling. So, Dave, if you could open up the lines, and we'll take the call.
I will open up the lines, but before I do that, I've been answering people that have been texting in or sending messages, and there's a couple questions I want to get to before I open up, and then we'll open up all the phones. So someone had asked, what is the point of two screens? Having two screens? Or is there a need for it?
Well, I mean, some people like to have, Rob was talking about your virtual briefcase, where you might have an underwriting guide and have maybe a comparison. Some people like the convenience of that. It's not mandatory. But Rob, your insight on that?
Well, the same thing. You can actually, while they're talking and they're seeing your screen, the deck that you're using, and your face, you can have another screen you can pull up, and you're running around the website looking at stuff, trying to pull up what you need, and all they're seeing on this screen is just the steady screen with your face. They're not seeing, you're searching around. You can do these things in the background and then switch it over and show it on this screen. So not everybody uses two screens, but I know I've talked to some that they love it, because they can do some other things while they're listening to their client. That, to me, it'll be a little distracting, but like pulling up the underwriting guide and going through the pages trying to search for what you're looking for, you can do that while you're talking with your client.
Okay. And then, do clients actually see you, or is it just data they see?
Some people have done that, like Skype, but it always has sort of this delay. It's like some of those Asian movies where the mouth moves and there's no words being said yet. There's always this a fraction of a second. To me, it's like distracting. So it's okay. I know that Lee Eisenberg was doing that for a while, and he felt it helped him out. But most of us don't do that. We have a picture. Some people put a picture of their dog or something on these slides. Every 4 or 5 slides will have your picture, maybe at the bottom, just a little, so they can see it, so they see you're a real person. I have gray hair. I'm 61, just about 61, and everybody tells me my voice sounds like I'm 35. So at first they might be thinking they're talking to somebody with not much experience. So I have a picture come up, and it has my gray hair, and I said I earned every gray hair there. Just start off with a little chuckle and move forward. But you're just creating credibility all along. Just like if you were sitting face to face with somebody, they're analyzing you from the moment you step out of your car out front. They're looking out the window, and they're watching you walk to the front door, and they're analyzing and judging and making decisions whether they want to work with you as an agent. Well, they're doing the same thing online. So your tone and pace, your respect of not talking over them, and those sorts of things, listening, and you even can state back when they tell you their concerns. When they're done, they can say, well, I just want to make sure I heard this right. And you can state back what you heard. Did I hear that correct? And you might find you didn't really hear everything. So you're staying in touch, making sure they know you care about them, and you have a better chance to make that connection and make the sale.
Thanks. And
Very
also, can this be mastered if there has been no face-to-face experience? Does AIM provide necessary training to inexperienced new agents? Well, I can answer part of that. We definitely can help you get started in this, and we do have some other things that we can provide you for training. Also, because of our close working relationship, we can put you in touch with Axia Partners, and they even go even further on that end of it. So to anyone that's listening on this, if they want to get in touch with Rob and talk to him a little bit further, please get a hold of me at the office, David Wayne, at 800-672-7202, and I will get you in touch with Rob. Also, a question, is there info available, and this is a great question, in Spanish for particular clients? I know that we don't have anything. Rob has Axia Partners putting anything together.
Well, we have several agents throughout the country that speak Spanish, and we're sort of, this is a project I started about a month ago. We're trying to get a list of agents who speak other languages, and we can share those agents. You know, they can contract quickly in another state or whatever if they need to, but especially Spanish. We have a number of them that speak Spanish, but we had someone who spoke like Arabic or something the other day. So we try to accommodate, you know, I don't know how many major languages there are. It's pretty tough, but Spanish is probably the big one. We do have agents available.
Yeah, and so basically what we could work out is an arrangement to get you connected and do some partnering up if you don't speak Spanish, or maybe there's another language out there that you're not fluent, but you have some clients in that market area. We might be able to arrange some kind of a working relationship. How do you spell Rob's company? It's Axia, A-C-S-I-A Partners. That's who Rob works with. Let's see. Can you recommend a lead service? You know, I hate recommending lead services because it's kind of a no-win situation there, especially if it doesn't work out. There are several lead programs that we do use, and one of them that we've had a fair amount of success is Target Leads. Again, I'm going to throw out there, if you want to go further into that topic, give me a call at the office and we can go into depth about some other services, because there's all kinds of different lead sources out there, and some of them do better in Medicare supplements, some do better in long-term care, some do better in final expense. So give me a call at the office and I can have a personal conversation with you. Rob, do you have any preferences or anything that you would like to add?
No, that'd be great. You can just, if they contact you, then they can contact us. And you know, I just wanted to say that I've been in touch with AIM since the 80s, and every experience I've ever had has been good. As an independent agent for many years, been doing this 31 years. I just, out of all the organizations I bumped into or had some contact with, AIM has been great all through these years. And I was talking to one of our vice president of our company. He said the same thing. We just have a great relationship with them, and it's we do good stuff for them. They do good stuff for us, and I think they will be great for you any way that you do business with them.
Okay. Says I'm bilingual, English and Spanish. Work with both kinds of clients. Could I help others agents as well? Give me a call and we'll discuss this further. So let me go to a few more of these. I've got a question here. Can you recommend a website designer? We at AIM have a program called our Agent Connect program, Connected Agent program, and we have that availability for you. Give me a call and I'll go into detail and get you connected to the web designer if you're interested, and should be able to get you a good start up on that. One more second, and I'm about ready to turn on the deal. Do you see any difference in the premium dollars that are sold online versus in person? Is the average less than average in person? So Is the volume less size? Rob, can you answer that?
I think the average policy today is about 2,100. I don't think it's much different face-to-face versus webinar, but I think most of us, a real common comment is I think I sell better face-to-face because that's what we're trained and used to doing, and some of us for many, many years. Change is hard. But you talked to one of the guys I think you were mentioning was Bob in Florida. It was 322,000 by 2012. He's got over 1 million on the books. That's all webinars. He does very little, if any, face-to-face. He's learned to build that skill up and just be able to do a huge amount of business face-to-face. So it's just that's a learning curve. You know, it takes a little time to learn it, but once you learn it, now you have a new skill and an opportunity to do a lot more business than you did before.
Okay, I'm opening.
Opening the line, Dave. I just want to pick up on what Rob just said and let folks know that Axia Partner is a great strategic partner of ours, and just so that the listeners know, 28 out of the top 100 LTC specialists in the country do business through them. It's a recent report that just came out that just highlighted the success of their organization. And when you have folks like Rob who have the expertise and the skill set, that's why he's in that position as director of training, because of how that's influencing all these folks who are actually having great success in the long-term care space. And not that remote selling is limited just to long-term care, but we tend to it's a core project for us, and we tend to focus on it. But just wanted to share that recent number that just came out. That report that 28 of the top 100 LTC specialists in the country.
We do the training for hybrids. Some of our agents are getting $100,000-$200,000 lump sum checks, or you can have them mail them directly to the insurance company. I had one not long ago with $65,000, and I never met the client. I said, "Would you like to mail that directly to the insurance company?" He said, "No, I'll send it to you." You can easily help people feel comfortable with you. Not everybody's going to do that, but a lot of them do. So we're able to do the hybrids. We're doing some training on the critical.
Okay. I got another question. What is the average amount of time on the phone for a presentation like that?
I have it down to about an hour and then 30 minutes for an application. It's about an hour and a half. And some agents are doing it in an hour total, start to finish, application, everything. So it depends on your skill set.
Okay. And then I think the question, it says metric, but I think it's a matrix. And do you have a metrics on the line consumer? I'm not quite sure what that question is. So I've unmuted the phones, and there's about 3 or 4 people, or 5, maybe a few more, that I have not been able to unmute because weren't able to put the PIN number in. But if anyone has a question, I saw someone have their hands up. Doug, do you have a question that you didn't ask? Anyone else have any questions on this? Doesn't sound like it, guys.
Well, you must have taken all those questions, Dave, through the written communication. Well, if I would just like to say, in wrapping things up, that it's like anything else that we do in life. We have to, we don't get good at something by just going out the first time and trying it. We have to practice. And the bottom line is, if you can sell in the home face-to-face, you can sell over the internet. And we really appreciate, Rob, you joining us and giving your insights about the importance of agents learning to prepare carefully and how they can actually present through a webinar professionally with concise, clear visuals, and how persuading is, if you do the right thing, you can persuade very easily, the same way that you would persuade if you were sitting across the table from them. And Dave, I want to thank you for hosting this as well.
We still have more questions coming in, apparently. Can training be done remotely, or does it require on-site?
Is that for me?
Well, I think it can be answered by both. I can answer we can do a lot of this training remotely. Your thoughts, Rob?
We do all of ours remotely. All of it's remotely. Right now I have my flip-flops on and my shorts and a t-shirt on, and I work all day like this. I'm talking to agents. They'll sometimes call me right from the client. When they're talking with the client, they run into an issue. But the training itself, we have some classes that we do, and then I do one-on-one training, show you what to say, and then you can learn to say it back, and I help you tweak it so when you go out there, you're actually able to make sales. You don't have to stumble and bumble around out there. You can stumble and bumble around with me, and then I help you learn and get confidence. A lot of it has to do with confidence. Once you get your confidence up, it's like anything else you do. It's like Groundhog Day. You just get better and better the more you do it.
Okay, another question is matrix for online consumers, average age and material statuses. Anything? Are there stats out there like that?
Yeah, 57, 58 is average age.
Yeah.
It's the same as what we find, Dave, individually. At least from what I've seen in talking with those around the country who sell them remotely, that they're they target the same wheelhouse of individuals that they would be targeting if they were seeing them face to face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Paul, I can't unmute your phone, so you must not have put a PIN number. I know you have a question. If you want to type one in, that's great. And Douglas, the same thing. I have your phone unmuted. If you're there, you can ask the question. And then I keep on getting on how to contact Rob. Please give me a call at the office at 800-672-7202, and I'll get you in touch with Rob. If that's it for questions, I think we'll end this webinar.
Thank you for inviting me, and I thought it was great. I'm happy to
come you, Rob.
These calls.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.